BIOS overview time, folks. Sorry, I had to run from the other computer over to this one. So this is the quick BIOS overview for the Gigabyte B760m DS3H, a motherboard that I have had for I guess a couple weeks now. Haven't used it too much, but you know, I did buy at the same time the Aorus B760m Elite AX, which definitely a step above this one. All right, so let's get into it. When you first fire this thing up, and let's say you end up in the BIOS, right? You will see easy mode first. So what are we going to see in easy mode? Well, some basic information up here in the upper left, and I'm going to use the mouse to draw attention to stuff. But B760M, so there's the model. BIOS version. Now we have done a BIOS update video, little sales pitch. Check that video out. There's two different ways to update the BIOS. We did the one through the BIOS. All right, so I will eventually do a video for updating the BIOS without having a CPU or GPU installed. Now the CPU in here is the i3-13100F. Oddly enough, I thought I had the i5-13400F installed. Oops. RAM 16 gigs. All right, so over here, folks, you can see the current RAM speed is 2133. It's because we don't have XMP enabled, which you would do that right here. Now, of course, if you have RAM that is compatible, okay, here's some keys. RAM that is compatible and it is overclockable, then, you know, you would want to hit XMP, right? And there should be two, actually, I guess there's just one, one profile in here. But now this RAM should be running at 3600 megahertz. Now, oddly enough, some of the 12th gen CPUs do not run as good as the 13th gen with this RAM, right? So this specific RAM, I have to drop the speed down, and I'll show you how to do that. Otherwise, it won't run correctly. Actually, it won't even boot up. Boots, maybe I get a blue screen of death, that kind of stuff, right? So, all right, moving on. Here is CPU frequency, CPU temp. This is using the stock cooler in here with Arctic Liquid CPU paste on it. There's the CPU voltage. All right, so this other information. Now, if I had a SATA drive hooked up, you'd see that. If I had, I just have a graphics card in here, and you can see PCIe 4.0. So this is an RTX 3070 Ti, so hence why you would see the 4.0. No M.2s, okay? So really, when you're first building a computer, you know, you just want to make sure you can get to this point, which is the BIOS, and then deal with installing your operating system. All right, down here, folks, Smart Fan 6, it says. You see the CPU fan running at roughly 1600 some RPM. Got this information over here, which is different from previous generations. And I'm not sure if you can adjust this. There might be a way to adjust it, but it's not letting me. So, smart fan. So I wouldn't suggest it with this CPU cooler, but you know, if you have one that you're wanting to make the CPU a little cooler, changing this from silent to full speed, which can get kind of noisy, will usually drop down that CPU temp. Let's just hear if you can see it. Now I can move the microphone over to the CPU cooler. So hopefully you can hear that. You see how the fan speed has gone up to 3000 RPM, which all my days of doing this stuff, I did not realize these fans went that fast. I do have an awesome Knock2 140 millimeter CPU fan that only goes up to 3000. So the fact this can go faster. Of course, this is a smaller fan. But now, folks, you also see the temperature has dropped, right? We're almost hitting 31 Celsius. But, you know, the cost is the noise. All right. I usually set mine to normal. Um, and then you can do other stuff here, make a more aggressive fan curve, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to mess with that in this video. All right, let's go over to advanced mode. Actually, before we leave that, so if you wanted to get out of here from easy mode, save and exit or F10. And then this is a spot where we'll do the BIOS update, and you can see that in the video. All right, so let's go to advanced mode. So advanced mode, you know, as you would expect, has a lot more stuff in it. Starts with, we'll go left to right, favorites. You can add or, you know, delete favorites, but this just basically, you know, if there's something in all these other settings that you want to see here, you can put them all in here so you don't have to hunt and peck for it later. All right. We see our XMP, so we could disable that there if we wanted to. Now, the one thing I would probably add to this is if I was going to have this, would be the RAM speed. Have that in one spot. Let's go over to Tweaker. So you've got all this information. Let's go in advanced CPU settings. And we're just going to go through these menus real fast. Unless I see something. So Intel Turbo Boost technology. You see this one? If you also, if you're running hot and you want to drop down, get your temps down, at the cost of significant performance loss, you could disable Turbo Boost. There's also a program called Throttle Stop that will allow you to do it inside of Windows, but this will get your CPU basically not to run any faster than its base frequency speed. All right, so it will not turbo, and you will see significant drop in temperature, but like I said, performance will suffer. All right, so these are like all auto disable stuff here. Let's back up a screen. Now, here we go with the RAM, okay? So let's say you hit XMP and your computer refused to boot, or it took 3 times to boot up. And next thing you know, it's back to that base speed. In this case, it would have been 2133. What you need to do is adjust your RAM speed, and I would start closer to 2133 than I would what the rated speed is, and just keep changing that until you find one that works. So, or excuse me, find the highest one that will work without errors. So you might want to jump up, you know, I don't know, 2200, 22, something like that. Most likely 3000 is going to work, right? Somewhere closer to 3600, but 3600 is not working. You know, it's going to be something less than that. So, but you would basically just click on that, hit enter, and see that saved to 3000. All right, but I'm going to put mine back to 3600. So I don't want mine drop down. But yeah, that's where you would do some troubleshooting if your RAM does not run at the fully overclockable speed. Advanced memory settings. So if you're into all this timing stuff, all this is in here. And all these are set to auto. So you've got different things here, you know, really not the CPU to mess with, the voltage core. There's a lot of things that, you know, with these lock CPUs, you really don't want to mess with, or are not able to do anything to. Obviously can't overclock in this motherboard, can't overclock the CPU. So even if you have a overclockable CPU like a i5-13600K, you will not be able to take advantage of that. So advanced voltage settings. And then this one. And I think that's going to almost do it. Yeah. For that. All right, let's jump over to settings. Platform power. That's what's in there. I/O ports. So that utility that pops up at the beginning, you know, for most of you, you'll want to download this one time. And then after that, folks, I don't ever want to see it again. So that will help you get all your drivers, get you set up and running good. Instead of going, you know, let's say you don't have a CD-ROM or DVD player hooked up to your computer, and so you can't use the installation disk. That will help you, you know, when you get Windows fired up with getting all of those drivers, and instead trying to figure out which ones you need. Oop, grabbed the wrong thing. So you may have to pause your video if there's something you wanted to see, because I'm just kind of flying through some of this stuff. Yeah, you know, most of the stuff you're not even going to mess with. It's like 10% or less. Trusted computing. So this used to be a big thing with the 600 series motherboards. Everybody want to know, oh, is it TPM 2.0? Why was that? Because of Windows 11 needed it. All right, so PC health status. Summary of certain stats shown in here. Let's go over to system info. You know, you've seen a lot of this in other menus, and basically this is just kind of showing you the same stuff. Another place to basically update your BIOS here with QFlash. Boot. If we had drives hooked up to this, you would be able to move those around. All right. And sometimes, folks, this is the area where if your computer is not recognizing your NVMe or not booting to Windows, that you may, you know, need to do make some changes around here. And to get out of here, folks, save and exit. All right. So you would hit enter, and then you see that, and yes. And since I don't have a drive in here, it's just going to go back into the BIOS. Thanks for checking out my video. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.